Hey everyone, how's it going? I was going to talk a little bit tonight about faith, and I got to thinking, and so we've been talking a lot about surrendering control the last few nights, and which is a form of humility. It runs along the same vein as humility, surrendering. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Then we have love, of course. Unconditional love is another piece of the puzzle, and then we have faith as another piece of the puzzle. So it's kind of like a trinity. It's kind of like the Holy Trinity, like Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Father, of course, would be unconditional love. Son would be faith. And Holy Ghost would be the surrender, the humility. And so that is the Trinity that's always present. We must try to incorporate all three of those into our lives. Of course, the greatest is unconditional love, but the other two help us achieve that and to sustain that in our lives. Sustain and get there in the first place. It's so hard to achieve that unconditionality, unconditional love. We see it sometimes in today's world, mostly with our kids. One as a parent experiences that, I think. Not even so much with siblings or with parents. Maybe with parents, but more with kids. Like you feel that unconditionality with them, like you are responsible for them. You are, that no matter what they do, no matter what they are, no matter what they become, you'll always love them. And part of that is the knowledge you have of them, the knowledge of just knowing what they are in their purest form. Because you've seen them grow, you've seen the innocence in them and how they've grown into conscience developed beings. But you can see behind that, you can still see the innocence, you can still see that child trying hard to please you, to do its best, always. And that's love, and when we see that, we feel that unconditional love. And that's what kids bring out in us. They bring out the best in us. And I think that's what really has kept humanity in that state of love. Is without kids there would be a lot of emptiness. And it's just what kids bring from that other world that is so special. They bring that element of love and innocence and purity and sanctity into this world, and we can see it, we can witness it, and we want to protect it with everything that we have. And so we're trying to obtain that same spirit, but amongst all all things, all beings, all people. And we know it's just a question of knowledge, because your kids, when they become adults, they're just like everyone else, but you see something beyond what they are as adults. You have the knowledge of who they are. And if you had that same knowledge for everyone, if you had that same knowledge for everyone on earth, if you would have been their parent, and you would have seen everything step by step, how they've grown, experienced everything about them, you'd have the same love for them as you do for your own children. So it's just a question of knowledge. Love is always a question of knowledge. It's not a question of will. Sometimes it is a question of will, but most of the time it's a question of knowledge. And the more knowledge you have of something, the closer you will be, and the more love you'll have. Now, they're also, love and hate sometimes are very close together. Because the more you love, the more you can be hurt as well. But that's something a little different. But yeah, so faith then comes with that knowledge that we don't have pure knowledge. We don't have pure knowledge of other individuals. But we know that if we had pure knowledge, we would have unconditional love. And so we know that in our ignorance, that being ignorant, it just means we can't see what's real. And what's real is what would be there if we had pure knowledge. And we don't even have pure knowledge of our own kids, but it's something close. It's the closest thing we can see on this earth. God, of course, has pure knowledge of all of us, and that's why his or not his, God's not male or female. We all know that, but its love is pure because it has pure knowledge. But since we don't have pure knowledge, we can't have pure love. But that's where faith comes in. Faith being the Son of the Father, which is, it's kind of like we can act as if, which is faith. We can believe. If we believe in this, if we believe that behind that adult is also someone just like our child, and they were raised with the same difficulties, the same challenges, the same everything, and if we can believe and instill that in our hearts, we can develop that unconditional love towards all beings, all things, all human beings. And so that's faith. It's faith in the Father, faith in love, faith in unconditional love. And Jesus had very strong faith towards the Father, right? He talks about that a lot in the New Testament. So our faith must be towards unconditional love, which is God, which is the presence of God on earth, which is the energy that sustains everything. And that is God. And we must, I think it's time in the history of humanity to once and for all universalize. I don't know if that's the right word, but make universal, make religion universal, and make a belief system that's universal. And so we have to get away from historical figures. We have to get away from, and you can have your own, just like you have your own language and you have your own food that you like, you have your own soccer team that you like or whatever. But underneath that, you have your own religion, your localized religion. But there has to be a universal religion that unites all people under one consciousness and one common belief system. And whenever you have a historical figure, it divides. It unites people locally, but it divides people internationally. And so we must bring down those historical figures and just transform what they're trying to say into universal language. So Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, all the different isms, Taoism. I think they do all bring together, of course, love, and I think faith and humility are also cornerstones of their ideology as well. I know it's strong. I don't know that much about certain religions, but I know most about Buddhism, Christianity, mostly. And I know they're very strong in those two faiths. But we can no longer see a statue as what we adore, as what we look up to, a historical figure or some type of person. People are fallible. That's just the way it is. People have always been fallible. I imagine Jesus was fallible. I imagine the Buddha was fallible. I imagine Muhammad was fallible. I've also explored the Baha'i faith, and I don't remember his name right now, but the prophet of the Baha'is, Abdullah, I don't remember, but I don't remember the Bob's name, but anyway, we can, of course, have heroes that are historical figures, but when we start looking at them as the God of the universe, like Jesus is the God of the universe, or the Buddha is the center of the universe, it really divides, because that's the center of your Eastern universe or your Western universe or your country, but it's not the center of the universe. And so when we look at ideas, universal ideas that exist everywhere in every culture, and they persist throughout time and space, and these are the ideas that we must understand and we must bring into our hearts, and these are the ideas that we must follow in our lives, and we must study all of the sacred texts and all that as well. That's where we're going to get more insight, of course, into these ideas. But it's the historical figures that we have to be careful about making them idols. And I think a lot is said in the Bible about false idols. And false idols are people. But love is not a false idol. Love is just something that you experience, and that it's real, and that it brings, it's the connection that we all share. And so that's something super real, even though it doesn't seem real in this world, but it's more tangible than anything on this earth. That idea of unconditional love is more tangible than anything we know, because it exists independent of space and time. And so these are the things, these are the ideas that exist beyond space and time that we must hold on to, cling on to, and just learn from on a daily basis. And so the Holy Trinity, keep it in mind. And I hope to see you guys here soon. I've been going through a little bit of a rut, just psychologically in the last few days. I'm not sure why. But sometimes you're just kind of in a haze, in a rut. And I think a lot of it has to do with breaking out of your comfort zone. But I'm not real sure. Peace to everyone tonight. Peace to the world, a blessing to the world. A blessing to you and your heart. May peace abound. May love abound. And may you find that peace in your heart tonight, at least. We'll catch you guys later.